Welcome to Shaped by the Stars, Your Chart, Your Stories. I'm your host Tara, Virgo Rising, Leo Sun, Scorpio Moon, an astrologer and guide for those navigating life's big turning points. I share astrology in a way that's grounded, relatable, and rooted in real life. Each episode I sit down with everyday people to talk about their real stories, the highs, the lows, and turning points, reflecting on how those moments connect to the energy of their chart. Because when you start to see yourself in your chart, things begin to make sense. You realise you're not broken, you're becoming. This podcast is about finding yourself in the thick of it, through honest stories, open hearts, and the insights astrology brings to real life. Let's get into it.
I have been through a lot of challenge. Yes, I am not perfect. Who is anyway? Yes, I come across angry sometimes. I had some outcomes that I regret in a way when it comes to family, when it comes to relationships, and I overthink. But I'm very proud of everything that I've been through. And I'm taking everything as a learning and grow from it and trying to be better, to do better and be very reflective and learn. It's my own responsibility. That's a big thing I'm learning at the moment. It's me who has this responsibility for my actions, for my thoughts, for how I respond, for my behavior, and who I want to connect in my life, and that's a big learning.
In today's episode, I sit down with my friend Samara. Originally from Brazil, she's been calling Australia home for the past 14 years. Samara is an Aries Rising, Cancer Sun and Leo Moon, a combination that shines brightly through her personality. She's a devoted mother, a social worker, and is extremely passionate about her work and connection with Aboriginal communities here in Australia. Samara is passionate, full of heart, and a true go-getter. She thrives on making connections, getting out into the world, and fighting for social justice. Above all, she embraces every experience as an opportunity for growth, reflecting on the good and the bad, seeing each moment as a chance to learn and grow. Her journey hasn't always been easy, but through self-exploration, reconnecting with her spiritual side, and the power of astrology and therapy, she's discovered a path of resilience, passion, and the pursuit of authenticity. I have a feeling the next chapter of her story will be filled with endless possibilities and a time where she will truly bloom. Let's get into it. Hi everyone and welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm thrilled to have Samara with us. Welcome Samara, it's great to have you here.
Hello. Thank you for having me and thank you for the invite. It's very exciting.
First I want to kind of talk about the first time that I met you because I love this story. You had literally just moved to a small rural country town where I live in South Australia from Brazil. Like you'd literally been in Australia for like a couple of weeks. And you were in the bank and you had your little baby boy crawling around on the floor and you were chatting away and you were talking about how you needed a ride to where you were living. And you were talking about where you were living. And then I was like, I can take you. It's on my way home. And you completely trusted me, a complete stranger that you had just literally met. It was so funny. And ever since that moment, we have always had, I've felt, a special connection. And funnily enough, in synastry, our synastry, your moon and my sun are conjunct, meaning the two energies fuse together, which can indicate that the connection is almost fated, but also indicates a comfort around each other. We kind of just get each other.
Yep. And I was going to say, while you were talking, it just really brought me back to that day because you were literally the first person I met in that little country town. Back then, it was so overwhelming because I moved from a big country, Brazil. My small town is 30,000 people. And moving to that little town was like, where did I land? I remember going around and see where is the main street. That's it. This is the street. And then meeting the locals and getting used to the Aussie accent was also, a big challenge in the beginning. But when I saw you, I cannot explain. It was almost like that instantly connection, which is Happens to me quite a lot, actually, like with people that, when I connect, there's not much words needed. It's more the heart to heart. So yeah, it was great. From that, here we are, 14 years later. You and I, a lot of times we stay apart for a long time, don't we? Like, we don't talk much, but then when we talk, it's always a connection. And you have been part of my life in a big time while I was living in that little town, and you still are. So I'm very grateful for this friendship.
And it's funny because our signs, like your moon sign and my sun sign, are both in Leo, which is that heart to heart
Yes,
connection. So,
absolutely.
yes.
And that was that connection in the
Yeah.
bank, straight away, heart to heart.
Yeah, definitely. So your sun is in Cancer, you're a moon in Leo and an Aries rising. But before we get into it, I would like to ask you what your personal relationship is to astrology.
Big, very big. I remember since I was 11, when my father passed away, we had to move to another town to live with my uncle. And I remember so well that I used to rely on astrology then, checking my star sign daily or weekly. What does it say? What should I do? And try to rely on the decisions. I've always believe so much in it. Also, that emotional connection, with the planets, the stars. I've always been a little bit alternative, if you want to call that, growing up, very drawn to earth and camping and sky, at night. And so I guess astrology for me has a very deep connection for sure.
So, one of the very first things I notice about your chart is where your planets are placed. So, let's break this down. Your personal planets, that's the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. These are all about your sense of self and identity. Then we've got Jupiter and Saturn, are what we call the social planets. They connect the self with society, and they are all sitting below the horizon. That tells me something really important about the flow of your life. The first half of your life, so up until about 40, is more hidden, private, and internal. It's like you're working things out behind the scenes, getting to know yourself, navigating challenges, processing experiences, and really integrating them on a deep level. And honestly, the first half of your life can feel harder. It can come with struggles and obstacles to push through. But here's the beauty of it: after 40, things shift. You start to bloom. The second part of your life is where you become much more visible in the world, more active, more outwardly successful. This is when you can really step into your purpose and achieve a lot. So, with all your visible planets sitting below the horizon, do you feel like your sense of self has been more private and internal? And now, as you approach 50, do you feel like your life is opening up for you in new ways?
Wow. While you were saying all of this whole movie of my life is being through my mind, and it's incredible how accurate it is. And that's why the beauty of astrology is that self awareness and knowledge that matches so well for everything that I've been through. And it's true, for 40, my life has been a roller coaster. I lost my dad to when I was 11, and that was one of the biggest events in my life. And then I had to grow up really quickly. Went through a lot of challenge in Brazil, not having dad and seeing mom struggling. And then after that, when I was 19, I moved to London. I didn't speak any English, and so I had my best friend in there, and she invited me over. So London was a big challenge, being a country that I didn't speak English, a lot of challenges, a lot of different work that I've done. And I had a boyfriend, an English boyfriend for 4 years. And unfortunately, he had a really serious bad addiction that I tried to help. And that was a big challenge for me because I loved him deeply. Then after that, I I become quite depressed. A lot of things happened between that 4 years. And I kind of got a little bit away from that sense of self and questioning society. Why am I going through this? Here I am with this guy that I love, and he's addicted to heroin, and I'm trying to help him, but he's in another dimension. And then I lost that sense of connection with a lot of things. And then When I was nearly 30, I met someone else that brought me so much love and fire and excitement, connection, and that was great. That was a really good timing because I was such in disbelief of a lot of things. When I met this guy, he was an Aussie guy, and we're like in such a fire connection, and he had to come back to Australia, and I stayed there for another year, had the best time of my life, so much challenge experiences, go getter, working a lot, traveling a lot, adding a lot. And then after my is that me and this guy were like, yeah, that's it. We're gonna meet again, and we met again in Australia. I came here by myself to travel, and then we had a beautiful girl when I was 29 years old, and that was another big change to then have that beautiful girl and having him, to step up and say, "Yeah, we are gonna have this girl." And then things changed again. Lived in Brazil for 5 years, and then we had a second child. I guess all those challenges that I had before 40 and after 40. Now I had these three big events, I guess. The death of my dad when I was 11. 29, I had my firstborn baby. And then after, when I was 42, had a separation, which is not a massive event. It's again one of those grief that you go through because part of you die as well, and you start questioning yourself a lot. It was a lot of challenges, a lot of changes, and to be where I am today as well, it takes a lot of work, a lot of self-awareness, a lot of reflection.
Having all of those experiences, you've got another aspect in your chart that kind of indicates your life can be very transformational and very internal, and lots of internal shifts, and these catalyst moments through relationships and experiences can really transform you. I want to step into your rising sign. So, when you were born, Aries was rising on the eastern horizon. It means you're here to personally experience and embody that Aries energy. Aries sits on your first house cusp, which is all about how you meet the world. And Aries energy is fire, is the very first sign of the zodiac. So it's linked to fresh starts, new beginnings, inspiration, and that initial spark of creation. It brings momentum, drive, and a spark to life. Aries energy is the go-getter. You get an idea, and before you're even finished thinking about it, you're already putting it into action. There's not a lot of overthinking here. It's more about doing. Bold, energetic, direct, sometimes acting before you think. There can also be a real need for freedom and independence. At times, this can come across as assertive or even impatient. But at the core, there's so much courage, enthusiasm, and a natural outgoing nature. Aries carries the childlike, adventurous energy, that desire to keep moving, exploring, and trying new things. Because Aries is a cardinal sign, the sign that starts the seasons, it needs movement, change, and forward momentum. If life isn't evolving or shifting, energy can feel low, stuck, or impatient. So for you, making changes and pushing forward isn't just something you do, it's something you need in order to thrive. And sometimes those changes are external, but often they're happening within yourself. When I think of Aries energy, I think of the ideas people. They get that spark of inspiration, and suddenly it's like they light a fire. There's a big explosion of energy and creativity. But here's the thing, they have to keep feeding that fire. If they lose that inspiration, the flame can burn out, and they naturally move on to the next idea, the next spark, the next project. They're real self-starters, but sometimes not in it for the long game. That's usually the job of the fixed energy people who keep the flame burning. How do you feel this Aries energy shows up in your life? Do you find you get restless when things stay the same for too long and feel like the flame burns out?
Absolutely, 100%. It's so funny. Throughout now listening to you talking. My God, that's me. That's me. That's me. Yeah, I guess it's again going back to society, how you raised, thinking about dad. My dad was in the army, so we moved a lot when I was little. So when I look back to my history, school history, I was in 6 different schools growing up. I guess I do get bored as well easily and wanting that, like, what's next? What's next? This is not exciting. What can I do more? And that brings again to my career at the moment, which is so exciting and complex. The freedom that you mentioned, to be independent, and a lot of things act before I think. Yes, that's something that I'm working on myself. And I guess approaching 50 years old, it's time to slow down a little bit and think before you act. But that comes about me also being like the culture, because if you think about ourselves, we're not just one thing. We have so many different modes, how we were raised, who is influenced your life, your culture, your land, your language. So I think that because I'm already a natural passionate person, yes, I do a lot of things before I think. I come across assertive, in a rude way, but it's not. It's the passionate, and I want to keep exploring because I thrive by learning and connecting. I love trying new things, and I really don't understand when people go, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" Even here with you, like your guidance, you can prepare. Now, I don't want to prepare. I want to be spontaneous. I don't want to think about it. But then sometimes you got to think about this. But I just like being spontaneous, I guess. Throughout my life, since I was 14, I become financially independent. My mom, we were in a very poor financial situation, in Brazil, and mom struggled being a single mom. My brother was so little when we lost my dad. He was only 3 years old. So we had that struggle very early, like seeing mom in that situation, me stepping up to look after my brother. And then that comes the go getter as well. We gotta do it. We gotta keep moving. We gotta adapt. And then mom was so positive as well. She always said everything's gonna be fine. And I think that's what mold myself, but being also the natural healer as well, and positive, which is sometimes my kids tells me, "Oh, mom," Micah goes, "Oh, mom, you're such a, you talk about healing, but look at you being so angry at us." Yeah, so I guess again, it's so accurate because I am a go-getter. I am an explorer. I love trying new things. I love challenge. I love freedom. And that's a bit of what kept me single for 6 years now, I guess. Like a free spirit. And it always has both sides, isn't it? The good and bads. But then at the same time, what is bad? What is good? For me, is everything fine? It's very accurate for sure. All the careers that I had coming to Australia as well, from admin to team leader in such a short time, it's very accurate. I love it.
So, to understand where we're heading, we first have to look back to the South Node. This point shows our comfort zone, the place we naturally fall into, and it often carries the energy of past life experiences. Your South Node is in Taurus in the second house, which is very much about material security and self-sufficiency. It shows lifetimes of learning how to rely on yourself, to be resourceful and to build stability, but also is one of the most resilient zodiac signs, which I know is one of your biggest strengths. And this is a gift from your past life. But here's the thing, this energy can also become stubborn, even resistant to change. It's like wanting to batten down the hatches and hold on tightly to what feels safe. There can be such a strong focus on security that it almost consumes you. Sometimes it even shows up as struggles with self-worth or self-esteem, looking outside yourself for value instead of recognizing your own gifts and what you have to offer the world. Asking for help or trusting others can also show up with this placement. Do you feel in your life that it's hard to ask for help or lean on others for support? And as we were discussing before, with your dad passing away when you were young, you really had to step up and go into that self-sufficiency.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's what shapes us, isn't it, as well? I do not like to rely on anyone. But at the same time, recently I discovered that that's caused me burnout. That you gotta rely on people. You gotta be able to ask for help. But I am a doer as well. So I like to help more than be helped. So, like you said, losing my dad when I was really young, I had to step up. I was pretty much my brother's mother, while mom was working a lot to pay the bills and to get food at home. So I had to rely on myself. When we talked about self worth, it's so true because I don't know. I guess it's part of the cancer, being a cancer as well. If you wanna please people, you're so sensitive and you wanna be the light, you wanna be the love. And sometimes if something goes wrong, I overthink about everything. And then I think, am I not worth enough? When I went through separation, was something that I thought a lot about it, something that I thought that was going to be for the rest of my life. I'm a big in family. And so that was a big challenge for me as well. So then the self worth came back. But then at the same time, I am resourceful. I love learning. I love trying new things, learn about myself, learning and growing. That's why a lot of times I think that, yes, everything is possible. And I truly believe in that. I've learned that you have to go through challenge to become better. You have to see the value in challenge. You really do. What is this teaching me? Why am I going through this? And as always asking myself, but not blaming others. And I've been there and I blame others. I still am, I still in ongoing learning process. But again, astrology is really good for that, to make you understand where you come from, why you are the way you are, and how can you move along it with all the planets moving, aligning, and knowing how you're feeling right now to help you to understand we're all worth it. We got so much to bring to this world, so much to teach people, to help, to dive in, to talk about karma. I'm not perfect by any means. I'm still learning and I still get very passionate, and sometimes I speak out my mind and upset people. Then comes my social work side where I see a lot of justice, and when I don't see justice and if that affects directly me and my kids and my family, I get very angry about it because why things are not the way I want, but the way that should be in general. So I guess that material security that you're talking about, for me, I praise a lot my house, a comfortable life, a car, and I work hard for it. But for me, the security also, it's family security, is us being there one to another, to help each other, to be together, but not only in the happy moments, but in the really sad moments as well. And I guess I struggle with that here because I'm away from my family. And then I put expectation on families here that cannot deliver that. So it's that constantly struggle of self worth that's linked to when I don't get those expectations met, which I know that I can't expect when people can't deliver, isn't it? It's such a struggle because you have that expectation on people that cannot deliver that. And then you
Mm.
question yourself on your self worth. But at the end of the day, is that reflection that yes, I have to rely on myself and I cannot have that expectation because a lot of people can't deliver my own expectation. So again, it's going back to me and learning that. But it's hard, isn't it? It's so hard. And I'm still learning and I'm not perfect at all. Sometimes I'm very good, sometimes I'm really bad. And
Yeah, I get that. And we're just going to be learning forever. I don't think we're ever going to be fully healed. We're always going to have these little struggles. And South Node in Taurus, the ruler of your South Node is Venus, which sits in your fourth house and it sits with the sun. And the sun is our confidence and shining in the world. And sitting with Venus, the sun can actually burn Venus. And Venus is a lot to do with our self worth and our self value. And it sits in the house of family, as you were talking before, kind of wanting that energy from the family and sometimes not being able to get it. It definitely feels like a sore spot for you. Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah. But we can rise above it.
always.
Awareness is the key, which brings me to where you're heading, your North Node in Scorpio in the eighth house. This is your soul's calling. It's not always comfortable, but it's where the real growth happens. Here you're learning to know your worth on a deeper level, to embrace change instead of resisting it, and to move beyond just material security into emotional and spiritual strength. This placement asks you to dive into life's mysteries, psychology, healing, spirituality, to transform and evolve. And yes, sometimes that comes through big shifts or moments that feel like the rug's being pulled out from under you. But those experiences are what awaken you to your true power. It's also asking you to deepen trust in yourself, your own abilities, but also to step into more vulnerability and the possibility of merging deeply with others. When we were talking the other day, you said you started exploring your spiritual side around 42, which is fascinating because that's around the time that your North Node matures in your chart. And the work you do as a social worker really channels this energy. You know change, you hold space for others in chaos, and that's a part of your gift. Do you feel like life has been nudging you away from clinging to security and instead pushing you to embrace change, transformation, and the deeper spiritual side of yourself, but also opening up the possibility of merging with another and stepping into allowing other people to help?
Oh my goodness. Isn't that so accurate again? I don't know if you're going to remember this, but when I was 42, I remember going to a wedding where you were at that wedding, and we haven't seen each other for such a long time back then. And I came up to you and I disclosed some information as I'm very vulnerable. And I said, Tara, I'm going through this, and this is going to happen tonight. And I was thinking about separating
Mhm.
from my partner at the time. And I remember you said to me in that wedding party, it was a beautiful night, beautiful moon. And you said to me, whatever decision you make tonight will be forever. So be careful, don't do it tonight. And again, I had so much expectation on that partner, and he didn't meet my expectations and was causing me a lot of questioning about my self worth. And I was getting quite depressed. It was a bit too much. I always wanted to follow my heart and going back to my gut feelings. I had something happened that night and I made a decision and I decided that that's not how I want to live. And I'm still young and I don't want to become a miserable person with my expectation and he's not meeting it. And also might be holding him. And then you said to me, you said, be careful, just be careful because tonight is a very strong moon and all the
Mhm.
decisions are forever. And I did. Next day, we separated. And again, like a lot of things happened from there. My career changed so quickly. I was an admin in social justice and I decided to look for new work and then I got a new work casual after 3 months and that was with social work related with Aboriginal communities. And then 3 months later I got asked, to be full-time permanent and everything just went up, 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 up was almost like I was stuck. And then after that decision, which really broke me as well, making the decision to break up, which wasn't really my intention, but I guess the person then said, "Yeah, actually, I think I want to be single." And of course, he made the decision. And again, the self-worth, the work on myself and that's always started then. So then I went to Buddhism and I start learning a lot about Buddhism and doing meditation and a lot of teachings. And I had a really deep sense of need to love myself, to really know who I am. What do I bring to this world? Why am I um, feeling the need to the self-awareness and practice to be more present, to not be the doer as much anymore, to just really find myself again and be reconnected, I guess, to spiritual teachings. And that's when all started, I guess. From 42 years old, I have a massive shift in my life. For the last 6 years, I have learned so much about myself. And that's when the work starts. And it's not perfect, it's ongoing. A lot of people say to me, oh, easy said than done. Yeah, I agree. But it's my own responsibility as well to make sure that what I'm choosing aligns with my truth, you know? The top 3 values for me is connection, integrity, and family. So I struggled a lot when I made that decision. And I guess that was really struggle because it was breaking a family. I adore my children. I love my children. I think they are the best thing that ever happened to me. But I could see them struggling as well, of course, with that decision. And unfortunately, it was against all my values because, my integrity, my connection with that partner, wanting him to grow with me, wanting him to step up. And he wasn't ready. And to be honest, I don't think he's still ready in his own way as well, which it doesn't align with my way, which is totally fine, isn't it? And I think that's the beauty of self-awareness is to understand that people are not going to be always aligned with your own values, your own ways, and that's totally fine as well. So yes, I think the north nodes in Scorpion says a lot about that.
Definitely. And you have got the placement of the sun squaring Pluto, and Pluto sits in your house of relationships. So, relationships for you can be a massive catalyst for spiritual growth and to really start tapping into your more spiritual side, but also working on your confidence and knowing who you are and doing that deep work around self worth and value and going deep and being vulnerable as well. And I don't know how you feel about that.
I don't struggle being vulnerable, but I struggle because people are not vulnerable. So when I am
Mhm,
vulnerable, people don't take that well. Like I'm an open book. And
mhm.
sometimes it goes against me, of course, because I speak my mind out, like I just say how I feel. And sometimes people are not ready for that.
Yeah.
And I guess in a way, it does work against me because that's me being passionate and saying, I feel this way. That's how I'm feeling. But people go, but that's not what it is. And I was like, but I'm feeling like that.
Yeah. Do you know, having Mercury in Gemini, that placement there can speak to speaking about your emotions, but you need to speak about your emotions and how you're feeling because that's how you also process them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
Exactly right. And that's a struggle between me and my kids. Because I will say, I feel that. I said, Mom, you're just being overthinking. You're too sensitive.
so, in your chart, Mars is showing up as your Atmakarika planet. So, in Vedic astrology, this is known as the soul planet. This planet represents the soul's deepest lessons and desire in this lifetime. With Mars here, it tells me your soul is learning a lot about courage, drive, and how to use your energy in a purposeful way. It can bring up themes around independence, standing your ground, and sometimes even anger or conflict. But all of that is really just guiding you towards building strength and more confidence. At its best, Mars as the Atmakarika gives you this fiery determination to move through challenges and carve your own path. This is something you're learning, and it ties directly into your North Node. Mars rules your North Node sign, Scorpio, which means a big part of your soul's path is about stepping into that Mars energy, owning your power, standing strong in who you are, and really taking charge of your life. Following your passions, like you were saying, like you're a passionate person. Mars gives you so much passion. Where in your life do you feel called to step more fully into your own power and take charge?
Look, it goes without saying the work that I do, isn't it? I think about my work and the connection that I have with this beautiful culture of Australia, which is the Aboriginal culture. And for the last 6.5 years, I've been working in Aboriginal communities. And I think that Mars reminds me of the path that I am, and I've decided I always had that passion since I was young with my own country indigenous communities. I think that again, is the connection, the learning, the work that I do, caving my own path, into the team leader position that I am now, which is causing a lot of conflict and anger and determination and a lot of challenge because again, I am a fire and I speak my mind out sometimes and people don't like it. And that comes the social justice that I'm very fierce on and getting back my power to advocate for one of the most disadvantaged people in the planet, you know, not just in Australia, but in other countries. And it's just so amazing because I remember one of the directors that I worked with, you know, she called me aside and we were talking about this challenge that I was going through. And she said to me, Samara, you are very passionate. You are very good at what you do. And I just really hope that no one ever burns that out from you. And I felt sad, but so happy, you know, because it is a challenging environment. I've got very challenging meetings with organizations, you know, that it's a big conflict between power and social justice. You know, a lot of people tell me, how do you do it? I love it. I love working with Aboriginal communities. I think they are the most self-awareness, connected, intelligent people I ever met. They teach me so much about living in the moment and be connected with land and culture and language, which in a society that we live nowadays where everything is its status. And that brings again to family connection, relationship connection. So it is a struggle for me sometimes. The anger, a lot of anger comes out of me, which is also connected how I was raised and having a father that was alcoholic and quite violent at home, and me being scared of my father growing up. And now having that conflict with myself, trying to really navigate through trauma and through learning more about me and being self aware of my own attitudes, how I related with people. I guess the studies and the teachings that I've decided to explore more and I want to learn more. And that's the beauty of it, to being able to be vulnerable, to be open to learning, to be open to accept, yes, I also make mistakes. I also have expectations that people cannot deliver. And it brings such a comfort. So I guess caving my own path would be this. It's like take responsibility on my own hands and understand it's hard, but understand that my expectations are my expectations. I cannot expect people to match that. But at the same time, I have also responsibility and the power to make changes. And that goes to my work, the work I do, you know, so it's all interconnected, isn't it? It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
You've
love it.
definitely got some fire in your chart. It's like you've come in this lifetime to go, right, I'm going to bring the fire. I'm going to explore my relationship with anger and possibly having this past life in Taurus. It's very connected to the earth, which again is why you love connecting with the earth, the land, and being in nature, which is very Taurus. So that lifetime, very connected to the earth and very stable. And there could have also been a possibility of almost a stuck feeling, stuck in that kind of environment, whatever that environment was. I feel like it was something to do with the land or farming or something like that. And this lifetime is like, we're bringing the fire, we're doing new things, explore and be passionate and be bold. It so explains your energy.
Yeah, and it's for me as well. Is that the challenge now? Is the assertiveness. How do I come across being assertive but not being bossy or being aggressive? Because then the aggressiveness comes from being passionate, but it's not being aggressive. And my kids note that all the time because Brazilians are like that. You know, if you're in a room with Brazilians, you would think people are fighting with each other, but they are just discussing a topic, you know? And then Henrique, my son, he always asks me, are you guys fighting? Or no, you're just talking, you know, because we're so expressive and loud. And I sometimes have to remind myself of that when I'm in the meetings, you know, talking about Aboriginal people, vulnerable, you know, with services. My client is unacceptable. I have to remind myself that people won't get me. They will think that I am aggressive while I've been very passionate and fighting for social justice. And my kids always, when we're out and I see something that's not corrected, and I go, what is he doing? What are you doing? And My kids go, Mom, Mom. And I was like, but it's not correct. It's not correct. If it's not right, it's not right. And it's the same when it comes to family as well. So sometimes I need to be more aware of it and try to meet the middle ground so I can come across in the right way that won't scare people too much. So I guess it's something that I am constantly learning.
And when you say about Brazilians, I've actually had quite a few Brazilian friends. I seem to draw them in. I have learned so much from having Brazilian friends. They're bold, they're expressive, they're like big personalities, and I love it. And I think maybe that's why I draw them in, because maybe I need to be a bit more like that. I just love the Brazilian friends that I have. Now, Mars is also your first house lord, and it sits in your fifth house. The fifth house is such a beautiful space. It's where our talents, gifts, and passions live. It's about creativity, joy, self-expression, play, and really embracing what makes you feel alive. People with strong fifth house energy often have this natural spark, sometimes even gaining recognition for their unique talents. They shine in a way that can't be ignored. For you, this placement gives you a fiery, vibrant energy. It's the house of play, having fun. We look to this house to get a sense of what brings us joy in life. For you, this could look like a good social life, attending performances, hanging at the local bar, going out socialising with friends, going to restaurants, watching live music or movies, dancing, playing games, or even enjoying festivals and sporting events. So when you think about what really lights you up, your passions, your creativity, flow, your fun, what comes to your mind first?
Definitely connection. 100%. And I am. And funny, while you're saying this, it came some really good message to me because people do say, oh my God, you're so busy, always doing things, you're all parties. I love music. I love music. Music is something that really helps my soul to be connected, to be happy. So I love going to festivals. But one message that came to me now is that sometimes people go out, right? To get drunk, to forget about life, to just forget about the issue, whatever. Me, I go out to learn. So I go out to connect. So every time I'm out, I'm interacting with people, asking. I'm very curious about everyone. So, for example, the other night, a friend invited me to go to this new restaurant in Port Adelaide Brewing. And I went there and it was beautiful. They had a pianist and another guy singing. They're all playing Brazilian songs. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And then the waitress came and it was very interesting waiter. He had his nails done, very softly spoken. And I was so drawn to him, like to know more about him. So then when he kept coming back, I started talking to him. So then I found out he lived in Germany. He used to do this, to do that. So then we talk about his life. And that's what drives me. It helps me to feel connected, to learn, to be so curious, and to have a laugh. So it was amazing. In that little moment going out, I spoke to the pianist that he was playing Brazilian songs. And then he told me about his music career and how he's drawn to Brazilian songs. And then I talked to the waiter and I was like, oh, I'm here for my friends. So that's how I am. Going out for me is feeling alive and connecting and learning. It's not just to go and get blind, or it's meeting people and getting to know about different cultures, how people live and who they are, what they do, how they do it, and discuss really deep subjects. So yeah, so this is very, very, again, very accurate.
And it makes me think of your Mercury again in Gemini, which is a very curious sign, and Mercury rules Gemini, so it's really strong. Mercury is the planet of communication, speaking, thinking, learning, being curious. They're open as well to all walks of life. It doesn't matter who you are. You've just got this curiosity and want to know people's stories. I can also see where this connection piece comes in because you also have the moon in this fifth house in Leo, which we'll get into. But what's really powerful here is how much your sense of self and identity and self expression are tied to this fifth house energy. It can give you the courage to take risks, trust your instincts, and to step fully into your unique self, which is exactly what the fifth house is about. It's about being authentically you, standing out and embracing your special one of a kind nature. With Leo on the cusp of the fifth house, ruled by the sun, you're reminded that, like the sun, your light is meant to shine brightly, to be seen, and to exist unapologetically. And yes, I know
Yeah.
I've mentioned before the chart shows a more private side of you, but this fifth house energy has been shaping and preparing you for your next chapter in life. You can truly blossom into who you are meant to be, owning your power and expressing your whole self. So, I want to ask, how willing are you to fully embrace your unique self, shine unapologetically, and let your light be seen exactly as it is?
That I am going through a different cycle at the moment, and I am feeling more unapologetic about being more able to show who I am and not worry about to be fitted in somehow, especially being a foreigner, a migrant. I think that's a very good point to talk about because when you're a migrant, you have to prove yourself in so many ways. And again, this is not judging anyone. And a lot of that causes a lot of self-worth doubts and not being able to come across fully in a way that everyone's gonna get you. You learn how to step back and self-reflect. So I guess now I'm gonna be 50 years old and I'm still doing a lot of work. And that helps me to be very self aware and be open, unapologetic of who I am. This is me. This is who you get. And I'm sorry, you are 100% comfortable. I give you permission to also say what you think of me and how am I to you. And I can change. I can then say, yep, I reckon that I might not come across really well and I'm prepared to change, but I want you to meet me there as well. So I guess it is a shift for sure at the
Yeah,
moment.
and
Yeah.
it really does come with age as well as we get into our elder years or our premenopausal or menopausal age. We are stepping more into ourselves fully because of all these experiences and we know ourselves better. And especially if we've been doing the work as you've been doing, going deep into the shadows, healing, and working on your values, it does make it easier to start stepping into our light. But it also makes me think of your areas when you're talking about you're really passionate and sometimes you feel you need to like pull it down. You're like too passionate, but really that's who you are. So you can leave it. Which brings me to your moon, which just so happens to be sitting in your fifth house alongside Mars, your first house ruler. With the moon in the fifth house, it can show how you can nurture yourself. And this can be through classic fifth house activities, enjoying a rich social life, playing games, attending performances, or getting active with sports. And this can also bring a hint of competitiveness. This placement can bring a fiery temper when emotions run high, so it's important to find healthy outlets. If you ever feel triggered or restless, the best way to move the energy is to start something new. Emotionally, you thrive when there's momentum, when you're in action, exploring, creating, or diving into anything that sparks your interest. With your moon conjunct Mars, that fire is even stronger, showing up as emotional intensity, big feelings, passions, and sometimes outbursts. When you feel your anger is rising, how do you usually respond and what helps you move that energy in a healthier way?
That's really interesting because I can be an angry person. And that comes from trauma. And I say this because of my studies. And currently, I am studying a graduate certificate in Indigenous trauma and recovery practice. So that is helping me a lot to understand my own self. So, as a Cancer as well, I tend to go between. So, when I'm dealing with a lot of anger, I now am much better instead bursting out. I am much better at go between and reflect. So I meditate on that because I also learned that through trauma, we are bound to react and behave. But then I've learned from my teachings that when you reflect and you realize that your thoughts are not you, it's a big shift. So when I start being angry, it's because those thoughts, it's ticking in. I have tools now that I can then step back and separate those thoughts from myself and analyze those thoughts. And what are the roots of those thoughts? So I guess, yes, I do get angry, especially when it's linked to social justice.
Mm-hmm.
But then I then say, what can I control? Is this my issue or someone else's issue? And learning how to separate that as well. Is this my own expectation? Are they prepared to meet my expectations? So that has helped me a lot to deal with my anger. And my anger also coming from when I was a child, I saw my dad and mom, in a domestic violence, and that's, it's a big thing. But again, do I want to be stuck there? I don't. So it's my responsibility to change that cycle. But then again, I get in conflict with myself because then I have all these planets that play a big part on me for being passionate, for being independent, for being strong, from being in a social justice mindset. So it's hard at times to balance that. But at the same time, it's having trust on myself, my actions, my own way of respond. And it is breaking the cycle. So I then have to pick my battles. Can I be angry at the agency that is illegally charging my clients some fees? Yes, I can. I can tell them, no, you got to waive those fees. Can I be angry at my son that was vaping? Yes, I can be angry at him. But then at the same time, I have to teach him how to be responsible for his own actions and making good choices and teach them things that my own mother were not capable of teaching me. At the end of the day, everyone has a choice. It's your choice. And it's hard. And I'm still doing it. I blame family for not include us. But it is them. Are they capable to meet my expectations? No, they're not. So do I let it go or do I choose to be angry? So it's a reflection, isn't it? It's an ongoing learning. And I'm lucky enough to have friends like you that help me with astrology, with studies, with reflections to help to guide me to be a better person. And that's why astrology for me is so important because it's a self-awareness, it's a teaching, it's a guidance. And then it's up to me. What am I choosing? So every time I'm angry now, I always go back to what I'm choosing now. So it's picking my battles, and because anger is just going to repeat my karma. So it's interesting to be able to learn that. But I haven't done that alone. I had friends that I called angels that really picked me up from that moment where I was in a very dark place when I separate, being in a foreign country with 2 children that were suffering. So I had those people that helped me to analyze this anger. I still get angry at times, but then I go back, but this is who I am. This
Yeah,
is who
and
I
anger's
am.
actually really important. It just needs to be directed in the right place, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, like bringing that passion and, being angry about certain things can give you that drive to make change?
Yeah.
Yeah. With the moon in your 5th house, the house of children, family, and kids are a big part of your life. The moon reflects our inner world, and in Leo, the sign of love, you have so much love to give. Leo is generous, warm, and giving, and all of that can come through in how you care for and interact with your family. Your kids themselves might carry Leo energy. Standing out, big personalities, always wanting to be a part of the fun. Play, interaction, and just having a good time can be a huge part of your connection with them. And honestly, they might also be a little lazy at times, like a lion lounging in the sun. This placement also gives you a playful, vibrant edge, a childlike curiosity. Leo energy is generous, dramatic, and expressive, so your interactions with others or creative projects can be full of life, passion, and energy. So do your kids, especially your firstborn, show Leo traits, and is fun, play, and joy a big part of your relationship with your kids?
100%. Aika, my firstborn, she's got big personality. She's amazing. She's doing a double degree in Bachelor of Law and International Relations. She's fierce. She's a thinker. She's committed. She knows where she stands. But at the same time, she procrastinates a lot. She's very lazy. She's a princess. I tell her, you're a princess. Because me coming from a third world country where I have to really work and do a lot, and she's like, no, I just want to sleep. But she's also accomplished so much. I guess, with the play and activities, I am a single mom now for 6 years. Although my partner do participate a lot in their lives. I'm very appreciative of that. He's a good father, but being a single mom, it's hard. It's really tough. So I think that I do miss some fun activities, especially with my kids. But that comes as well with the challenge with the age as well. They are now 15, 19 and 15, and they don't want to have fun with their mom anymore. So I'm going through that challenge of detachment, the separation from them. They are becoming adults. I love a lot of fun, and I think that's one thing that I need to connect it more with.
Saturn is also in your fifth house. So there's a lot of energy in this fifth house. What this tells me is that while you love going out and socializing and connecting, you also approach it very responsibly. Sometimes you might feel like it's hard to fully relax or let go. Saturn here may also give a shy, more calm energy to all that Leo expressive, bold, look at me energy. That said, all that fiery energy, your emotional need for play, and Mars, the planet of action, are strong forces. So maybe you may oscillate between wanting to be more spontaneous and wanting to be more responsible. It actually gives you a mature, disciplined edge when it comes to having fun and being creative. You may also be able to stick with your creative projects, see them through, and persevere in the areas of life ruled by the fifth house. Do you feel this Saturn energy when it comes to fully letting go and having fun?
I do. What brings to my mind is that I did have to grow up very quickly since 11 years old when I lost my father, and I have those vivid memories so clear in my mind, and then going away from my country when I was 19 and be fully independent. So I had to grow up very quickly, and I didn't have time to process it all. I just had to go with the flow and just do it. So I do find it's completely correct. I find I struggle to relax completely. Recently, I had an issue at work, and my director said, just relax, just you're doing great. But because I'm such a go getter and I'm thinking so much, and then I find I struggle to relax. And it's funny because I do go out a lot and I enjoy myself a lot and I do relax when I'm out, but it's really finding that hobbies and relax and have more fun, joy, because life is hard, especially as a single mom. Living currently living check by check and not being able to save and not being able to buy a house. All these things that I constantly thinking of, how am I gonna do it all, and let it go and just go with the flow, and try to enjoy life more. And I'm very blessed. I'm 49 years old. I have so much energy and I love life, even though, I have been to some real big struggles, so a lot of challenge. It's funny because I then remind myself, how proud I am where I am at, how much I have accomplished and all that I've learned, and I think this will be amazing because then I'm going to step in going, whoa, I'm a lot more mature. I'm ready, to step into a totally different journey and have more fun.
I know you wanted to talk about resilience as a big theme in your life. Saturn rules resilience, and here it sits in your fifth house, where so many of your life themes play out. Saturn teaches discipline, perseverance, and responsibility, building inner strength, often through challenges. But you're not without support. Mars, your first house ruler, gives you drive and courage, and with your moon conjunct Mars, you have resilience. You have emotional resilience too, and a deep ability to bounce back. The fifth house is also about children, and people with Saturn here take parenting very seriously. More than likely, you've carried significant responsibilities for your kids, and I know you've been navigating life as a single mum for a while. It all ties back to Saturn's lessons, balancing responsibility with joy, building resilience, and learning to persevere through life's challenges, while still connecting to the playful, creative, loving energy of the fifth house. Can you tell me more about your relationship to resilience and how it shows up?
It's incredible tough. What is resilience? Why some people so more resilient than others? Being a mom, I see that more and more with my own children, how resilient they are. I guess with me, it's going back to a lot of stress that I had in my life since I was little. My dad left us a couple of times. My dad left mom when she was pregnant, and we didn't have much, and going through a lot of financial stress since I was little. And then when dad was home, he was alcoholic and he domestic violence. So I think growing up having to be strong all the time, and that's when the resilience comes from, is that ability to adapt, through trauma, stress, and recover, in a way. And goes without saying, the work that I do, people say, why do you like so much this type of work? It's so challenged, so complex. It is. I've seen things here in Australia that I think not many people realize that happens. But because I've been there, and it's that lived experience. So resilience for me is the result for what I've been through. And I take that as a very privileged place to be, because how lucky am I to be resilient? I've learned recently through therapy that I got to be careful with that. Not because I'm resilient that I have to accept and take on everything. I need to learn how to ask for help as well, because at times I realize that I'm exhausted in so many areas. By realizing that and accepting that, I don't have to be the strong one all the time. I don't have to be the one that says yes for everything. Yes, I am resilient for sure, but that comes from a lot of hardcore moments in my life, and it helps me to navigate still a lot of challenge, especially again being a migrant, having to prove myself to everyone and not liked by many because I am vulnerable and I am honest and I say what I think. So resilience is a strong trait. I am grateful, but at the same time, I sometimes have to remind myself that yes, I am resilient, but I also don't have to cope alone with everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that is tied into your Aries, which likes independence and wants to do it their own way, and then your North Node in Scorpio in the 8th house going, "Come on, it's okay to ask for help. You don't have to do it all alone." Opening up and merging deeply with others, accepting that help. And this is a lesson you're learning. You're here to learn this. Yeah, because you've come from a lifetime where you have been very self-reliant on yourself.
Absolutely. And that comes from a lot of things as well, isn't it? Like thinking those stories that you create in your mind. Am I too much? Am I going to disturb too much? But even accepting things from people or asking for things is a big challenge for me. I have friends that are like angel in my life that really helped me financially, morally helped me. If I didn't have these friends in my life, I don't know where I would be right now. But it was a challenge, and it's still a challenge to accept help.
Yeah, that's definitely a lesson. You're
Yeah.
here to learn. Your sun is in the 4th house in Cancer, brings strong themes of home, family, and lineage into your life. The sun represents our identity, and in the 4th house, your sense of self can be deeply tied to family, both the family you've come from and the family you create. This placement gives a lot of pride in your roots, your homeland, and where you come from. At the same time, you're very likable, nurturing, and generous. I know whenever we speak, you're always inviting me to stay, opening your home, offering a bed. That's exactly the energy of this placement. It's nurturing, caring, and very generous with sharing and opening your home to others. Interestingly, the sun is also a planet of independence. In the 4th house, it can indicate that you might step away from your family early on and forge your own path. You're Brazilian and living independently from your own home country here in Australia. So, can you share with us how this experience has felt for you? Living in another country?
I've been away from home from such a long time, since 19, and now I'm 49, so 30 years and I've been away from home. But I'm still very strongly connected to my roots and my culture, and also to be able to merge to another culture. I also feel so privileged to live in Australia. Australia is a beautiful country. Now, I made friends for life here, they are my family, they are friends, and it has taught me so much. I love the Australian culture as well. But being divided in these two cultures can be a challenge, but I'm extremely proud of being able to be so privileged to live in two cultures. And for me, it's a big thing, like providing this to my children as well. I'm so proud of my children, the humans that they are. But I'm proud of my culture. I think that Brazilians, they are very fierce. That they can be quite dramatic in a lot of times, but they are people that will love you deeply. I'm a go-getter, and there is nothing you tell me to do that I'm not gonna be resourceful and do. I'm very proud of everything that I have accomplished and that I am accomplishing it. And my two children growing into accomplishing amazing things as well. I have been through a lot of challenge. Yes, I am not perfect. Who is anyway? Yes, I come across angry sometimes. I had some outcomes that I regret in a way when it comes to family, when it comes to relationships, and I overthink. But I'm very proud of everything that I've been through. And I'm taking everything as a learning and grow from it and trying to be better, to do better and be very reflective and learn. It's my own responsibility. That's a big thing I'm learning at the moment. It's me who has this responsibility for my actions, for my thoughts, for how I respond, for my behavior, and who I want to connect in my life. And that's a big learning. You get to a point in your life where you then think, oh, this is not about numbers anymore. It's about who really resonates with you.
Yeah, look, the sun does square Pluto, which we did talk about, but this indicates to me that you may have experienced some inner power struggles and you may have felt torn at times between wanting to shine freely and facing deep transformational forces that push you to confront your shadows, especially in relationships, which you have discussed. They're catalysts for change for you, shedding old versions of yourself and rising into your own personal power and mastery. And doing the deep shadow work can give you that ability to inspire and empower others and give you a deep understanding of yourself, but also how you relate to others. So, with your sun sitting in the fourth house, representing your potential power and even career, this placement can also relate to the second part of your life, usually after around the age of 42. This suggests that you have the ability to rise into your perfect career later in life. The sun shows where we can shine, where we find success, and the way your chart is shaped indicates strong potential for a fulfilling and successful second chapter. As you've discussed, you're a social worker and you actually did start studying this later in life. And a big part of your work is with the Indigenous Australians. And I know how much you love it and the connections you've built, the culture you've been able to engage with. It really makes me think about the sun in your fourth house, that deep connection to culture, land, ancient wisdom, and how that shows up in your passions for the kind of work you do. Which brings me back to that sun square Pluto aspect in your chart. Doing the shadow work, going through transformative experiences, I believe has really helped you to step into your career as a social worker, opening you up to shine in the second part of your life, in your career, and with more confidence. Heading into your 50s in the second chapter of your life, do you feel like your career is truly on the rise, stepping into the work you were meant to do, which I think we all know the answer to this?
Yeah, look, it's funny, isn't it? It's funny how things turn out. So I have friends that are very scientific based and a lot of friends that are very spiritual, right? And it's interesting because the scientific people, they don't believe much in spiritual teachings. They're like, nah, I believe in science. But science basically just to use different names. We're all searching from the same thing, right? So I guess when you talk about shadow works, that's what I've been doing since I separate. I've been doing a lot of shadow work, and I'm very privileged to have friends that are on the same journey, which is makes easier because it helped me to develop even more. It goes without saying the job that I do, I'm connected with the most spiritual, beautiful, connected, knowledge people. And I cannot explain to you what it is in words working with Aboriginal people. I had so many connections. Sometimes people ask me what is like, and I bring to that Avatar movie. where they connect their hair to the horse's tail and they connect. And it's something like that. It's unbelievable. And I had so many blesses moments where we connected so well instantly that people can't believe it. Going back to my work, now people, agencies, other organizations, how did you find out that? How did you get that information? I've been working with them for 7 years and they never told me that. That connection that I cannot explain, mean being so rooted in the land, in the language, and that has a very powerful message. Not everyone will get it. And that's about relationships, if you think about. And that's about me. It's all about me, integrity, connection, family. But then I get in trouble, of course, because my own way of behaving with so much passion, angry. So I guess I'm gonna be 50 years old next year, and I can feel deep healing to my own self. So my circle of friends are getting smaller. I'm letting go of a lot of things. I was persisting in a lot of things, especially related to family relationship. And it's funny because recently I had a call about this because I decide not to persist anymore and let it go. And I accept what I want here doesn't belong to me. And that's become more clear. I can see that my healing, it is a journey and it has helped me in so many ways. And I'm not perfect. I'm still not mastering it. And I don't think I'll ever master it. But I am learning and loving the journey, the shadow work, and so people out there, they might not believe in astrology or they might not believe in those words that are not directly linked to their beliefs. I guess, when you invited me for this podcast, I was so happy and felt so privileged because I wanted people to understand their thoughts. I wanted people to understand their feelings. I wanted people to understand their journey. So many people going through really heartbreaking journeys of a lot of mental health issues happening. But it's a call for everyone to then step out and go within and work their inner child, work their own shadow, work their own thoughts. And I guess that's where I'm coming to the healing, the more mature, more connected to land, to language, to culture, welcoming people that are here in my journey to stay. And the ones that are not staying, I thank them as well for all the learnings, which is amazing. It's sad that maybe I cause some anger in people and they cause me anger, but I now choose to look into it in a more positive way, and reflect on that.
We need more social workers like you in the world. I was speaking to a young girl that's studying psychology at uni, and she was saying that her professor was saying that they are actually going to start incorporating astrology into the program because it is a fabulous tool for understanding the self. And I'm like, about time. Come on, people.
Absolutely, 100%. Because the thing is, we live in a world where it's very fast, isn't it? Everything is so fast. We're having so much information and we are disconnecting from ourselves. And that's why working with Aboriginal people is amazing because they are connect with themselves, with the land. They are not materialist at all. And it's like, and no, we need money. We need to buy a house. We need to be rooted. We need to have status. We need to do all these travels around the world, which is wonderful, right? It's wonderful. There's nothing wrong. But then deep inside, are you happy with yourself? Or is this just a refuge of all the shit you need to get on with and learn? I think that astrology is a self-awareness, is a deep learning about yourself, and is a guide. Since I had my first one with you, it's been amazing because I always go back there and say, right, this is what's happening. This is what I should do. But it's a guide, is learning about yourself, your actions, your behaviors, your way of thinking and feeling, isn't it? Like the changes in the planets, why they're so connected with us. Why not? How can we explain how we were born? How a woman can, for 9 months, be with a baby inside us and not believe that this planet does not change our moods, our actions, our behaviors, our ways of thinking. It's all connected.
Thank you so much for saying yes to being on the podcast and sharing your story with us. It's been such a fun conversation, and I can't wait to see what unfolds in your next chapter of life.
Thank you so much and for providing me this opportunity. and being such a important tool, for us to help us to learn more about ourselves.
As we wrap up this episode, we've journeyed with Samara through her transformative path from Brazil to Australia. Her story is one of resilience, embracing change, and discovering strength through vulnerability. With Aries rising and her chart ruler Mars in the 5th house, she carries a natural fire and go-getter energy. Her Leo moon highlights the importance of family and joyful connection, while her Cancer sun grounds her in lineage, roots, and belonging. Together, these placements shine through in the way she lives with heart, passion, and integrity. Samara's journey shows us how astrology and self-awareness can guide us through challenges, helping us find meaning in even the hardest moments. Her insights remind us of the power of connection with others and with ourselves as we strive to live more authentically. Thank you for joining us in this inspiring conversation. I hope Samara's story has sparked reflection and opened something meaningful for you on your own journey. Her experiences are a beautiful reminder that our struggles and turning points shape not only where we've been, but who we're becoming. If you'd like to explore your own path more deeply, visit my website, tarawatersastrology.com, to book your session.